Hi everyone. Hope everyone is well. Actually, especially those in affected areas in Malaysia. We have had heavy downfall for the past more than 24 hours. So, of course, welcome to Talking Live with Macy. If you're tuning into this right now, this is would be the best time for you to share this with your friends, with your family to tune in because we wait for 15 people before we begin. And also for your information to all of you, this is the final episode of Talking Live with Macy for the year 2021 before I see you in January next year once again. So please do me a favor and do yourselves, your friends, your family a favor by sharing this because today's episode is for everyone to tune into. Youths, especially because there are a lot of Malaysians who are unaware of prediabetes. They might already have it and they don't know that they have it. So we want to get them aware so that they know how to check whether they have prediabetes or not. So share this with them. I'll give you another 30 seconds to get at least two more people to join us. Oh, right. We have 15 people already. So once again, welcome to Talking Live with Macy. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the final episode of Talking Live with Macy for 2021. It has been a great year filled with a lot of education and a lot of awareness about various health and wellness topics, from actually diabetes management, nutrition, all the way to cancer. To end this year's show, we'll talk about pre-diabetes, which affects a lot of Malaysians. Many of us know about diabetes, but no one talks about pre-diabetes, which any one of us could already have. Good news? Pre-diabetes is reversible, but we must first check and find out how to do it and then act on a positive lifestyle change so we can reverse it. Now, recently, Merck launched a movement called Let's Make a Change for us Malaysians to be aware of prediabetes. The direct link to the campaign is actually on my caption. And before that, once again, I would like to ask you to share this live stream with your friends and family because we have two esteemed medical experts joining us on the show. I know that there are many people who have no access to electricity right now and internet, but if you could, uh, for those who are actually safely at home and you think that this would benefit them, I personally think it would benefit a lot of people here in Malaysia. Please share this with them to get them to tune in to ask questions, especially to our medical experts. They are so knowledgeable, and we want everyone to be aware of such an important topic. So, like I mentioned earlier, joining us today, we have two esteemed medical experts to guide us on how to reverse or prevent diabetes. I would like to welcome Associate Professor Dr. Barakatun Nisak Muhammad Yusuf, Deputy Dean Academic Health Sciences, Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences at UPM, and Dr. Alexander Tan, Consultant Endocrinologist at Sunway Medical Hospital. Welcome to the both of you on the show. And of course, to everyone, we would like to ask you to take care, especially those affected by the floods. And now I'm going to jump straight into the questions. So if you have questions for Dr. Alex or Prof. Nisa, please go ahead and put them in the question box so we can take them on. So now we're going to find out what prediabetes is. So Dr. Alex, I would probably jump to you first.
Yep.
Welcome on the show, Dr. Alex. Everyone knows about diabetes, but pre-diabetes has not been given the attention it deserves. So, can you tell us more about pre-diabetes?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Maisie. And basically, pre-diabetes is exactly what it says, lah. It's a sort of stage where you don't get diabetes yet. Your sugar is high, but it's not high enough to hit the mark for diabetes. So therefore, it's pre-diabetes. To put it in a very simple terms, when you get diabetes, it's kind of like a long-term relationship. Really. You're married to the diabetes. So pre-diabetes, you can kind of think of it like this is my girlfriend. It's still reversible.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no wedding ring yet. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, if you see your son bring home a girl or your girl bring home a boy and say, hey, by the way, this is pre-diabetes. Check it out. See whether you like this guy or not, right? Okay, so it's reversible at that stage. So definitely it's something that if you know that you have it, then you can do something, and I think you were saying earlier on, a lot of people suddenly affected by this flash floods came out of nowhere, not expected, right? Well, the thing about many of the patients I see with diabetes is sometimes they get a shock that they get diagnosed with diabetes. But sometimes, if you look back at the blood tests that they had, and you actually ask them, they were told that the sugar is a little bit high, and this is the pre-diabetes stage. This is the warning stage, So, wouldn't it be good that a lot of the people who are affected had a warning that they were going to kena a flood, and so this is what pre-diabetes is. This is a warning. This is something where you got to do
Mm,
something about it so that you can prevent yourself from going into diabetes or at least delay yourself from going into diabetes.
I see. So, pre-diabetes can actually be reversed.
Yes, it's definitely something that is reversible. It does require a lot of effort on the part of the individual. I wouldn't say it's like an amazing amount of effort, but you do have to get some basic things. I think Prof. Nisak will share some of the diet tips that will come along, but it does mean that look, your life as you're living it, you can't just continue on. You just can't just carry on.
Mm,
There will be some hunger involved. There will be some,
hunger.
discomfort involved, some exercise and feeling tired involved. But you have to motivate yourself and get yourself to sort of say, hey, look, I'm on a trajectory. I'm on a road. I'm on a course to something which is not good. How do I come off this road? It is possible, but you have to work at it long.
So, when it comes to pre-diabetes specifically, why do you think that pre-diabetes is more and more common in Malaysia?
Well, I mean, it's on multiple levels. Basically, we're becoming more and more unhealthy. Basically, we're
Mm,
becoming more and more overweight. Yeah, I think Asians in general, we have a gene that makes us more prone to getting diabetes law, and so therefore more prone to getting pre-diabetes.
mm,
We don't, our bodies don't handle excess food well. We are okay at eating ngam ngam, Prof. Nisa means tepat-tepat the exact amount. But if we overeat and we don't burn off that excess calories, that's why I think in Malaysia we're seeing this increase and in the how common it is to get pre-diabetes. I guess the other thing is also, programs like this maybe getting attention and getting people to actually check and getting people to actually say, hey, look, I need to take care of my health. I think that's
mm.
important. But yeah, definitely, if you if you just live life as it is today, in the era of Grab Food and Food Panda and I don't know, McDonald's, and not even McDonald's, Char Kway Teow, wherever it is. It's really easy, the modern lifestyle to kena pre-diabetes and even diabetes lah. So it does require effort to sort of avoid
Yeah.
and reverse.
Especially in Malaysia, I feel because we love eating. Like
Mm,
eating is part of Malaysian culture, and also in Asia, everybody always asks like if it doesn't matter Malaysia, Singapore, Korea, a lot of parts of Asia, eating is ingrained into our culture. So it's very
Mm.
hard to avoid it, and especially with like what Dr. Alex mentioned with Grab Food, on-demand food delivery service. So,
yeah.
Prof. Nisa, perhaps you can add your thoughts on this. Like, why do you think it's more common in Malaysia?
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Dr. Alex. Hi, Maisie. Thank you for inviting us. So I agree with Dr. Alex. Once people thought that they get a comfort with eating, this is a dangerous. Yeah. Study have shown that when we have uh, the term called comfort eating, yeah,
Mm,
then it's actually increase our risk of many of the chronic diseases, and including pre-diabetes. And to me and to all of our healthcare professional, we see that pre-diabetes is a window of opportunity. Yeah.
right.
Uh, why people in Malaysia are so common and at risk? I agree with Dr. Alex 100%. It's all about our lifestyle. Yeah, study have shown that we eat about 15 hours a day. We only stop eating when you go to sleep. So you people are start eating and change their circadian biology time, which by right at night you are resting, you have no food, yeah. But now it's different where you eat late at night, and especially among youngest where they woke up late, yeah. So all of these factor may actually precipitate, yeah, their risk of developing pre-diabetes, especially those with family history. Maisie, maybe I would like to share one of our study. Yeah, we collect about 300 young adults, yeah, and we look at into their family history of diabetes. So we divide them into two groups. So, and then we do a comparison with those with family history and without family history. So what we found, number one, those with family history of type 2 diabetes, when they do the screening tool like what Merck has developed, the website, yeah, they have, of course, the higher risk of developing future type 2 diabetes. Second, those with family history of type 2 diabetes, what good about them? They have very good knowledge. They understood about what is diabetes, yeah, what does it mean, medication related, complication related. So they have a good knowledge, which could be related to how they deal with their family members.
Yep.
Nonetheless, we found that those with family history of type 2 diabetes, they don't eat healthier, similarly like those without diabetes, because we know that Malaysia in general don't really eat as what Malaysian dietary guideline recommend. So both group have similar pattern of dietary intake. They have less frequency of exercise, and those with family history of type 2 diabetes, they already present with some kind of risk factor. They are slightly overweight, they have slightly higher waist circumference, yeah, and we don't really check their blood glucose, and their fruits and vegetable intake relatively very low. So, in other words, even though they have a good knowledge, they understand their risk of developing future type 2 diabetes, but the energy, the effort to put on it
Yep.
is very limited. Hmm.
I see. So I agree with you because especially for younger people in their 20s, 30s, they don't think about the health so much. So they just eat
Mm.
whatever they want. And you know, working in the offices or doing something for prolonged time
Okay.
without moving is very sedentary. So that allows, or rather it's easier to put on weight. And I see a lot of
Mm.
people, especially people around me, that don't eat fruits and vegetables. Um, Vegetables, definitely not. As in, they really don't touch it, and I'm always really surprised.
Mm.
Yeah, so Prof Nisa, what you mentioned is very, very true. And I think back to you, Dr. Alex, do you see a lot of younger people getting pre-diabetes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. People kind of think that maybe diabetes, pre-diabetes is something that you get as you're older. But in Malaysia, specifically in Malaysia, there's actually, I would say, you don't want to even have a younger age lower limit. You're talking about pediatric age groups. My pediatric friends are also seeing patients with diabetes and pre-diabetes. So, I once did a show, I think in Caring about 2 years ago, and I said that, look, one of the risk factors is not just family history of having this condition. I think one of the risk factors is just being Malaysian. If you got a Malaysian, if you got a Malaysian passport, Malaysian IC, the way we eat, the way we live nowadays, I think you got to go and get checked because you can be really
So
surprised. Don't
true.
think that you're 30 years old and you're protected. Yeah. So as exactly like you said, lifestyle is unhealthy, eating is unhealthy, eat without thinking, eat for not just without thinking, like eat for various reasons, like for pleasure, for
Mostly for pleasure.
socialization, etc.
Social,
Yeah,
yeah,
then
for
you pay
socializing.
for it later on. You pay for it later on. So yeah, I see young people even getting it, and I think that's something where you need to go and get yourself checked. So if you're Malaysian, go and get checked. If you have a strong family history of diabetes or something like that, go and get yourself checked. If you have a history when you were pregnant of having diabetes, go and have yourself checked. If you're overweight or obese, go and get yourself checked. Yeah, so definitely seeing a lot more of it, and that's the thing. If you know you have a problem, then you can do something about it, right? But if you don't
Yeah,
know you have this
true.
problem, then when you find out only when you get some infection or you are really sick, then only you find out. Then that's a lot of wasted time. You could have done something about it early on.
Yeah, very true, Dr. Alex. I think a lot of people don't care enough to find out. So, Dr. Nisak, do you see the same trend in your practice as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When at one point when I conducted my pediatric endo clinic, which usually I see children with type 1, I do have one of the case like 6 years old, but with type 2 diabetes. Yeah, because the parents has a very strong family history of diabetes. So
Yeah.
when she born to a mom who is also have type 2 diabetes. Yeah. So
Mm.
it's quite challenging for that as young as 6 years old to
Yeah, yeah.
understand the overall management of type 2 diabetes. So that's the youngest that I have. So of course, like 10 years, 12 years. And now when I'm managing the adult clinic, so I have seen a lot, even among my students who came to us with confirmed type 2 diabetes, hypertension. Yeah. Um, so this is the thing that I think this is our objective today, where we wanted to let the
Yes.
people know, yeah, pre-diabetes is a window of opportunity for everyone to understand. Let's make a change.
So true. Thanks, Dr. Nisak, for weighing in on this. Dr. Alex, why are so many people undiagnosed? Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just didn't go and check. Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
didn't think that they would get it. Very surprised. Hey, but I'm only 35, or I feel okay. Um, that's the thing about this type of diseases. If you have a cough, you will go and get yourself checked. If you can't breathe, you go and get yourself checked. But these kind of diseases like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sugar being high, diabetes or pre-diabetes, many of the times you don't have symptoms, and then you only find out when it's too late. By the time you get symptoms, right, you're peeing every time or all the time,
Yeah.
etc. Your glucose is really high already. It's like 20 and above. So I guess that's one factor. And I guess there's also, I think you did mention a bit earlier, the don't want to go and get checked, feeling afraid and
Mm.
scared. But you got to get over that barrier. I do have some people who kind of have a clue already that they be having a problem, but they put their head in the sand and don't
Avoid
want
it.
to say, yeah, I
Mm.
it cannot be. I just want to go and check. But you're only kidding yourself. Because the longer you don't get diagnosed, the longer the time is wasted, and the more chance that you could have a bigger problem affect you, right?
Mm.
So again,
Yeah.
so just to give some rough figures, like pre-diabetes, there's actually two subtypes. There's two types. One is when you have this thing called impaired glucose tolerance (IGT), where you makan already and your body is unable to handle that food. And then there's also another one called IFG, impaired fasting glucose, where even though you don't makan, your sugar is high, right? Your
Mm.
body is just developed into this kind of like status of having a high sugar, okay, even without makaning. Now, what the figures show is that one of these subtypes is as common as 1 in 6 adult Malaysians. So it's like you think about your classmates, right? How many people were there in your class? Let's say 30. Right, out of that, you divide by six.
That's like
Every six one of them
five.
would have already, yeah, five
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So don't think that this is a rare, uncommon thing. Okay, as of 2017, there was about 3.3 million people with diagnosed pre-diabetes in Malaysia. Okay, and how many undiagnosed we don't know. We estimate that probably 25% are diagnosed, and in fact, therefore, 75% are undiagnosed. So the true figure is probably higher. We just don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah, this thank you for having me on the show, lah. Because I would like to drive the message. Go and get yourself checked and check yourself
Yes.
really regularly if you haven't.
So, Dr. Alex, I think you already kind of touched on it, but maybe you can clearly define who should get tested for pre-diabetes. Like maybe in like one, two, what are the criteria?
Um, yeah, so again, if you're obese, overweight, right? If you have some of the other disorders like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, gout, right? If you are already unhealthy in some way, okay? If you have a family history of this, if you have a past history of having high sugar levels or diabetes when you were pregnant, okay? And I wouldn't even say age. Of course, the older you become, the more likely you are to have it. But in Malaysia, age I don't think is going to be something that you should feel like, oh, I'm only 30 years old, I'm only 25 years old, I'm protected. No. And yeah, the final one that I would say is that yeah lah, if you're Malaysian lah, you got IC, you better go and check.
So if you're Malaysian, go get checked or at least be aware. Go
Mm,
check up maybe the website to find out how to get checked. I think that's
Yeah.
yeah.
important. Now, Prof. Nisa, we'll go on to the next main topic, which is reversing prediabetes easy? So, uh, to reverse or prevent diabetes, I think a lot of Malaysians would like to ask, do we have to give up our favorite foods?
Okay. Any lifestyle changes is not an easy job to be done. Yeah, because it's require not only action, it require behavior, it require motivation. Because what we are currently doing has been like from when we born, we have been using. We have been eating a lot of processed food. Yeah. So now you want to turn it to become better. But let me start with the evidence. What is the evidence say for the reversal of pre-diabetes? Yeah. So there are five things generally, Maisie. Number one, you have to lose weight. Yeah. If like what Dr. Alex mentioned just now, if overweight and obese, you have to lose at least 5 to 10% from the baseline weight. So if we have individual come to see us and their weigh around 100 kilo, we have to really work out, yeah, quickly to make sure that they lose weight within the time frame. How long? 3 to 6 months. We really need to do that, when they are at risk. So the average, many of the study have shown that the average of weight loss they have to achieve in reversal pre-diabetes for certain period of time is at least 8%, yeah, and ranging from 5 to 10%. That's number
All
one.
right.
Number two, you have to increase the intake of vegetables and fruits. Yeah. So if we look at into the data in Malaysia, yeah, only 20 to 30% of Malaysian
Yeah.
achieve sufficient intake of fruits and vegetables. So how much you need? So we will talk about it later, how to increase those. Yeah. Number three, we really need to reduce our sugars intake. Sugars is very additive. Yeah, so the more you eat, the more you need that. Yeah, so then we have to really reduce the sugar intake. Keep about 1 teaspoon a day if you really need. Number four, reduce our fat intake. Yeah, because our diet are mainly come from saturated fat, fried item. Yeah, even our vegetables are fried. Our vegetable are deep in coconut milk. Yeah? And these two factor basically, yeah, when we do a study, we found that even though they eat vegetables, but the cooking method does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah? So then we have to educate. This is come from education. Last but not least, yeah, number four, you have to increase dietary fiber, especially from starch. Yeah, cereal fiber. So where do they come from? They come from oats, they come from brown rice, they come from whole grain, they come from wholemeal bread. So this is the things that we have to do to encourage people to eat more whole grain, yeah, unprocessed carbohydrate food. Yeah. When Dr. Alex mentioned that being an Asian, we already have a passport for pre-diabetes. So it's quite wow. So all of us here are at risk. So when we look at into a data, at one time when I look at into a data, we found one small study in United Kingdom where they compare how Asian, yeah, respond to carbohydrate is different from those Caucasian.
How Asian.
Yeah? So in general, uh, Asian will have higher glucose response, about 60%, when they eat food high in carbohydrate as compared to the Caucasian, despite
Wow,
healthy BMI and despite similar but metabolic profile. Yeah,
I
so
didn't
our
know that.
gene, yeah, so our gene generally are quite, maybe a little bit challenged
More
or maybe a
prone.
little bit, yeah, more prone to diabetes. And that could explain how we digest carbohydrate. And therefore, the use of appropriate type of carbs, yeah, super processed carbohydrate food is now very much available. So we have to educate people to choose less processed carbohydrate. And last but
Okay.
not least, this is the most challenging part due to our busy life schedule, exercise. Yeah? So, in reducing the risk of not only pre-diabetes, yeah, or any other chronic disease, we have to embark ourselves on increased physical activity. So the recommendation is about 150 minutes per week. Yeah. And if we have excess body weight, we have to increase to 240 a week. But this is quite challenging because data have shown that only 40% of Malaysians are doing at least are physically active. Majority out there has no time to exercise. Yeah. So this is basically the 5 step to reduce diabetes. Yeah. Check on your weight, look into fruits and veggie, increase your fiber, especially from less processed carbohydrate, reduce your fat, as well as exercise. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Nisak. I think exercising, although a lot of people say they don't have the time, I feel like you can just squeeze in that 15 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
It's all about discipline.
Mm.
I would have to say this. um, I think the next question then is many people immediately think about an endocrinologist or diabetes doctor when they think about prediabetes, but people may not understand the importance of the role a dietitian plays in reversing
Mm.
it. So, why should people consider working with a dietitian, in your opinion, Dr. Nisa?
Right. Thank you, Maisie. Yeah, of course, I like to highlight that number one, because of the role of diet itself, yeah, lifestyle strategies is important in reversing pre-diabetes. And we appreciate because I think the most doctors who love to refer to us is endocrinologists. So we receive a lot of patients from endocrinologist team, yeah, to talk about how important lifestyle changes. Yeah, nutrition we call as nutrition centric play a critical role in diabetes. Even though they're starting a drug will not be work as effective as they are if the patient does not really change the root cause, which is food intake. Yeah? And being with a dietitian, when you are referred to a dietitian, the best part is that we can provide personalized meal plan that suit to the individual lifestyle. Yeah, so we can discuss which part that we need to change. Which are the priority to change at this point of time. Yeah.
That's so
And
true.
most of my patients says that when they come and see us, they understand they can still enjoy boba tea, they can still enjoy their secret recipe cake, for example, all the cakes, they can still enjoy the festive season because they understand how to manage the overall thing, how to enjoy some time for those kind of comfort eating. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is what we want people to come and see us. Yeah.
So, a good note for everyone is to also seek a dietitian for advice if you were diagnosed with either pre-diabetes or diabetes.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Nisa, you mentioned that eating out. I think Dr. Alex mentioned this as well, is a part of Malaysia's culture. As a dietitian, how do you help patients with pre-diabetes make those changes in their nutrition and diet habits without making them give up their favorite foods? Maybe you can do a short like takeaway on how you can do it so that people don't shy away from seeing a dietitian.
Right. If I say bluntly that, okay, you cannot eat outside, prepare your food home, people won't come and see me again. Because data have shown that almost 70% of Malaysians are eating out at least one meal a day. Yeah, and at least 15% order food from outside. So even though they really eat at home, but the source of food come from outside. Okay. Maybe we talk about why eating out is quite challenging in managing your lifestyle. Because when we eat out, we have less control in what we are going to eat. Yeah. Unless you eat at home, you prepare your own food, then um, you have better control. But nonetheless, yeah, eating out is kind of our culture right now. So therefore, we may need to advise on how to make a healthier lifestyle choice when they eat outside. Maybe number one, I can share, uh, manage the portion size. Yeah, no matter where you eat, even you are on holiday, keep it small in size and avoid supersizing. So if you order supersize and share with everyone. Yeah. And then still using a plate method concept that introduced by the government. Yeah. So I always tell my patient when you go to eat nasi campur, first thing first in the buffet line, don't cedok your rice first, cedok your vegetable first. Right. So and then she said, oh yeah lah kan, when you cedok your vegetable first, then absolutely it will help you to control your portion size. That's when you eat outside lah. And then order extra vegetable. Yeah, spend some time, spend rather than ordering sweetened beverages. Maybe we change that to ordering extra vegetables. That will really help to increase the portion size of vegetables. So, if for example we eat outside 5 days in a week, then maybe there is a day where when we order extra vegetable rather than sweetened beverages, right? And then, in order to reduce our postprandial blood glucose level, study have shown that eat your carbohydrate last. Start with your vegetable should be able to improve not only your glucose level but also give us more satiety. So in other words, we may not end up with eating more. Yeah, we complete our vegetables. So that's also another third trick. Yeah. So portion size, extra vegetables, yeah, and then of course sharing the dessert. Okay, so maybe this is the three
That's too
extra
difficult.
the three
Okay.
simple tips.
Tips.
I have wrote 10 tips how we can actually eating healthier. So please go and check to our website.
So,
Maybe
girls, I
amazing.
think
Yeah.
girls love desserts. Share your desserts. I know it's very difficult, but this is a good tip. So, I myself will try to share my desserts now. Thanks, Dr.
Right.
Nisak. The next question is, if food can bring about big impact to our health, does that mean people who eat healthy can get away with a little less exercise? Maybe Dr. Alex, you can take this, followed by Dr. Nisak.
So I think in general, when you look at the imbalance of how much in terms of calories you eat versus how much you have to do to burn it off, I think something like if you eat three cookies, you probably have to jog about 60 minutes to get rid of those three cookies. Okay. So I think the first thing is you have to understand that how hard it is to jog for 60 minutes, how much you sweat, how much you're panting, and how tired you will feel if you're not used to exercising, if you're not used to that 60 minutes for that three cookies. Okay. So you have to, the baseline is still food to me. You cannot run away from a bad diet. You cannot jog away a bad diet, you know. So I think what you put into your mouth is still the basis. Now, don't get me wrong, exercise definitely still got many benefits, above and beyond just uh, the diabetes portion of it, the pre-diabetes portion of it. It helps to improve your mood. It helps to improve your bones. It helps to improve your sense of balance, etc. There are multiple benefits. So definitely, if you get some exercise, it is a plus. But it is not easy. If you have an extremely bad diet, exercising is kind of difficult. I mean, unless you're some Olympian who's like swimming, uh, 10 hours a day. But, I think that is my take on it.
Mm.
don't sort of say that don't exercise, lah. You know, definitely exercise. It will help, but I think the basis is still for me starts with a good diet. Mm.
Mm.
And Dr. Nisa?
Oh yeah, okay. Thank you. I totally agree with Dr. Alex. Yeah, the fundamental is dietary intake, where you have to change it. Some of our patients who are morbidly obese, where the BMI is more than 40, when they do control their food, they generally can reduce perhaps 3%. Yeah, 3% of their weight. But for them to reduce more, and of course, absolutely, they require physical activity. Yeah, because without physical activity, your weight will plateau, and then you start getting you give up if when you see those. Yeah? And for those who really just say that exercise is important, yes, it's true, but without a proper dietary intake, yeah, because you can see that after exercise, after jogging, many of Malaysian will singgah to mama and they eat again whatever they has burned out. And so I guess it is very important to make sure that it's go in line whatever it is. It's not that I'm saying that you can't go to mama and enjoy, but choose the right type. We have also put in the website what are the substitution when you wanted to
Yeah,
enjoy your love, your food that you loved previously, and you still cannot give up. Yeah, and how to actually substitute slowly so that you can start do some changes in your life.
that's good advice. Um, I'm one of those people that play badminton and I want to eat a roti pisang after. But don't follow me. That's very bad.
Share,
According to
Maisie.
Dr. Isak. I must
No, no,
share
I
it.
mean
You're right.
share it.
um, so, Dr. Nisa, among your patients, what are the most common challenges they face to stay on track when dealing with
Mm.
pre-diabetes?
Holiday, perhaps. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the season after the holiday season. So holiday is one of the challenge, but as long as you understand the fundamental, you know what are the barriers and how you prepare yourself. Yeah, so some of my patients say when they wanted to go for holiday, they will tapau fruits and vegetables. Yeah, so they can eat as usual in the kedai or wherever, but they have a portion of fruits and vegetable with them. So, and then they work during the holiday. We usually see the walking, the step are increased. So they try themselves to walk a lot during the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
I think
perhaps will balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. Brisk walking would be better instead of slow walking. Shopping walking is a bit different also. um, uh, I know girls always think that when you walk and while you're shopping that you lose calories. Maybe, but it's a little bit different. Um,
Don't stop and
doc,
window shopping.
yeah,
Walk
that's
straight.
true. Yes, good idea. So, Dr. Nisak, my last question for you before we open the floor to questions for
Ah,
both Dr. Alex and Dr. Nisak. So, to the audience, if you're catching this, you can put in your questions now for both Dr. Nisa and Dr. Alex. So, put it in the comment box and I'll pick it up. And Dr. Nisak, my last question is how do you help your patients with prediabetes overcome those barriers? And what advice or tips do you have for them?
okay. Of course, we have to do a complete nutrition assessment. Yeah, we understand whether the issues come from the intake or the issues come from behavior. So if
Mm,
the issues come from intake, so basically it's start with the knowledge and awareness. So it's easy. Yeah. So when patient does not have knowledge, does not have awareness, education will change some of
yes.
their resilient. I mean, they are resistant to change. But for those who already have a good knowledge, but they just don't have the motivation to change, and this is require counseling beside
Mm,
education. Yeah, we have to use a lot of behavior change model, understand their lifestyle, understand what are the barriers, and how can we actually include the healthy lifestyle as part of their barriers.
right.
So it's involved deeply nutrition assessment. And believe me, Maisie, when they come and see doctors, I mean Dr. Alex, myself, or any other endocrinologist and dietitian, we will provide personalized advice to them. Yeah, and you are not alone. We have many more patients come and see us. So don't worry, don't afraid. Come and talk to us. Even though you not be able to lose weight, please come back. Don't give up and then don't give up and do not come. Yeah, nobody will scold them,
Yes.
Dr. Alex.
No, no, no.
Yes, so true. So
Yeah.
I think this goes for all those people who give up or rather think that they can solve it on their own. Please
Mm,
go and seek medical help or advice from the medical experts like Dr. Alex and Dr. Nisak. So thank you so much, Dr. Nisak, for answering all my questions, and same to you, Dr. Alex. I'm opening the floor to questions now, so I'll be moderating the questions. Hi everyone who said hi on the comment section. Um, and the first question would be William from Indonesia. He asks, why is it when you eat or drink sweet things, you tend to be addicted to it? And he also asks, why is it that eating white rice, you will get diabetes? So
right.
maybe Dr. Isak, you can take this.
Okay, maybe the mechanism Dr. Alex can help me on
Yeah,
the additive part of how sugars and insulin works. But generally, yes, William. So we saw people that when they eat carbs, basically, yeah, refined carbohydrate, not necessarily sugars, but refined carbohydrate, including white rice. This is food that provide a high impact to the blood glucose and is grouped under a category high glycemic in that food.
G,
So,
yeah, GI.
what I understood, high GI food generally increase your blood glucose, increase your insulin level, and involve a lot of other hormone that will trigger our appetite. Yeah. So that's from the dietetic perspective. And when it comes into rice, about 2 or 3 years ago, there's a lot of researcher has shown that when you eat a lot of rice, they also increase blood glucose and is more prone among Asian. As I mentioned, generally that how Asian digest their carb is quite different from the Caucasian. Yeah. So that's from the dietetic perspective. Go back to Dr. Alex, perhaps.
Yeah, so it's a brain thing. Everybody thinks that just eating is just with your stomach, but a lot of times eating is also with your eyes, which is connected to your brain and how you think and feel about it. We make these associations, eating certain dishes for certain festive events, right?
Mm,
We make these associations that bring about happiness and etc. It's a very natural thing. Now, food is something that has been it's necessary lah. You can it's not the same as tobacco and alcohol where you can say, okay, no more for the rest of my life. You have to eat. And in a modern society, I guess food vendors, from big food vendors like Coca-Cola all the way to small food vendors, they know how to present and make it in a way that's appealing to us. And it's a very base kind of level of appeal. It's the same as like it's like porn. Okay, maybe I can't say that at a 3:30 p.m. show lah. But it's like say video games or anything that brings about pleasure, right? It induces a dopamine response in our brain.
mm,
Okay, and so therefore we will want to keep getting back at it. And especially if
So
it's
true.
if it's culturalized and institutionalized, right? 3 times a day we are trained since young that we have to go and seek food. Even when we're not hungry, it's lunchtime.
mm,
Okay, I stop,
mm,
I go and cari makan, right?
mm,
So the thing is, yeah, we have to eat, otherwise we'll collapse and die. But we have to do it in a very in a way that we are aware of what we're doing, right? And kind of do it not to excess law. But yeah, we have developed as a society to such a high sort of level of eating without thinking and eating unhealthily lah. It's like go to movie automatic means popcorn and coke, that kind of level. It's not that you will die if you don't have it, but it's just something that you have to do. Have Hari Raya means certain dishes. Have Chinese New Year means certain dishes.
Okay.
So I'm not saying those things are wrong. Don't get me that. But your question is why is it so addictive? Well, because
Yeah.
of all the things surrounding it, law. To make it a good feeling.
All right. Thanks for the explanation, Dr. Alex. Now, Miss Chung asks, how often should we get checked for pre-diabetes screening? Because we are young and not overweight.
Yeah. So for me, I would do it minimum once a year. Okay,
All
that's
right.
enough. However, if you have reason to believe that you need to do it again within that once a year, like you've suddenly gained a lot of weight, right? You've gone and done some project and you gain 5 kilos, 10 kilos because of working hard on the project and not sleeping properly and eating junk food all the time. Okay, then go and get yourself checked again. Now, if you also suddenly get diagnosed with, in that in between your annual checks, suddenly somehow you found out that you have high blood pressure, okay, go and get checked as well, because whatever it was that induced you to have that high blood pressure, okay, that could be triggering you to also have prediabetes or diabetes. If you suddenly have a gout attack, for example, when you've never had one before, that's your body sort of saying, hey, maybe something's wrong with your diet and you're being
Mm.
unhealthy. The minimum is once a year, but there's no rule to say that it's only once a year. If you have suspicion that you need to do it more than that, then do it more than that, no?
Mm. Thanks, Dr. Alex. I think the next question is also for you from Nara.
Oh,
She says that she's
mhm.
pre-diabetic, under, underweight, and she has no family history. Then, in terms of her case, for people like her, how often should they get checkup, and is blood glucose checkup sufficient?
Yeah, so thanks a lot for that question, Nara. So I think if you have pre-diabetes and you have no family history and your weight is normal, then you should definitely go and see your doctor and sort of kind of think about what other factors, for example, medications, etc., may be in your background that is kind of inducing your sugar to be high. Now, once again, glucose is one thing that you can look at, but it's usually not that accurate. What I would prefer is that you check something called your HbA1c
Mm.
or your A1C. Now, that's average sugar for 3 months. You see, because your sugar never stays the same. You'll go up and down, up and down. You makan, it
Yep.
goes up. You exercise, it goes down. You're under stress, it goes up. You relax, it
Yep.
goes down. So up, down, up, down, up, down. How to assess that? The best way is to look at your average law, your gula purata for 3 months. So your HbA1c will be a good guide. If you if you start see it trending upwards, it might mean that you're not on the right track. How often do you want to check? Once again, the minimum would be once a year. However, if you yourself want to know, if you yourself want to know, hey, this past 3 months has been really rough for me, or this past 3 months I have completely just been eating durians every day, okay, and you want to know what is happening, then you check lah. Okay. So at the end of the day, there's no rule one to sort of say that you can only check X amount of times or after X period. Okay. Actually, the information is also not just for a doctor, it's also for you to understand what's happening to your body.
Mm.
You see a HbA1c that's floating upwards, something not good is happening to your body, and you need to take take action now.
Action.
So there's no rules to say that, how often should I check. I think the bare minimum is 1 year, and that's a bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, if you really want to keep in touch with your body and in tune with your body, then measure lah. HbA1c again, not always available easily. If you do just want to do a finger prick sugar check, that's fine. What I would do is just check it, let's say twice a week, 3 times in a week lah. Usually I like to sort of say before each meal and sort of see whether they are rising or going up or not. And that also is good because sometimes it helps you understand the food and the consequence of different things that you're doing. So, having curry laksa versus just plain noodle soup, what is the effect in the sugar and in the differences in the sugar? You wouldn't know this unless you check, you see. So,
True.
again, these are things that there's no hard and fast rule. You want to check it today because you're having curry laksa, go ahead. Go ahead, then you will know. Then you understand your body better. So the thing is don't see it as something that you have to do. See it as something that if you do it, it adds something to your understanding and you gain knowledge of what's going on with your body. Lor.
Mm. Thanks, Dr. Alex. I think that's good advice in terms of rule of thumb on how often we should check. Someone is a fan of your aquarium, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
So, as we're running out of time, I'll ask maybe two more questions. I'll pick the questions before we do a closing from both doctors. So, Madam Yo had a question, Dr. Nisak. I think this would be for you. She asked, "Hi, doc. Is it better to eat the three standard meals a day, or to eat more times but smaller
Mm.
meals in a day?"
Right, right. Thank you, Maisie. So it's very good question, but it's not a simple answer for it. We have to look at into what are the diabetes treatment that they receive. Yeah, so if they receive insulin, for example, I have to check what type of insulin because we have to match the insulin injection with the meal time. Second, for certain people, eat small, frequent meal actually put them at higher risk of developing increase in body weight because my understanding for smaller meal may be different from the patient perspective, right? So therefore, it's quite challenging for me to give a general advice whether 6 versus 3 is better. Come and see us. We will do a personalized, individualized meal plan.
Yeah, so get seek help from a dietitian. I guess the next question, I like this question. Sheila asks, how does one set realistic goals and stay committed and consistent, especially in the long run, as this is a lifestyle change? I think Dr. Nisak, maybe you want to
Yeah.
take this as well.
Wow. Thank you, Sheila. It's a very realistic question that we also experience this in our clinic. Based on stage of change, there is basically 5 stage. Yeah, pre-contemplation, contemplation, which is very common. But for Sheila, is asking when patient or individual is already reached the final stage called maintenance phase after the action stage. Yeah, so this is the most challenging part generally when you want to maintain the amount of weight that you have lost or to maintain the current active lifestyle that we have start. Yeah, and some people they go to the phase called relapse. Yeah, and they will start again perhaps at the action, or indeed some patients start at the contemplation. I give up, I don't want to do this again, so I won't come and see you. So we have that. So generally, one of the good example is to have a survival kit. Yeah, so you know when there is a time that you have to go back to your previous healthier lifestyle change that you have made. So you in to do that, you need a constant monitoring. So what we can monitor? We can monitor our food intake. So when we go wrong, start jot down what do we eat, and we have a lot of apps that can help us to analyze our food intake data, right? Second, we have to measure our weight. So when we see the increase in 1 or 2 kilos, we quickly need to go back to our survival kit. And this also has been done in one of the good study called direct study in UK. Yeah, so when people gain about 2 to 3 kilo, they have to go back to their survival kit. So inside the survival kits, the dietitian will tell you what are the intervention or strategies that we have to adopt and adapt. Yeah, so basically, we have to do this with healthcare professional. We will plan what should be inside our survival kit when we go wrong or when we start to feel the relapse phases. Yeah.
I see. So, to answer your question, Sheila, it would be good to have a survival kit, the items that Dr. Nisak mentioned. So, I think the next question is for Dr. Alex. Next final two questions will be for Dr. Alex. Shirley asks, is oral glucose tolerant test a better test than fasting blood sugar for pre-diabetes detection?
Yeah, definitely. If you do an OGTT,
Okay.
and just to explain, it's a sugar drink test. You get this really, really sweet drink. Then what the doctor will do is take your blood test before you take the sugar drink, and then 2 hours after you take the sugar drink to see how your body responds to the sugar drink. So that in itself, you are having more information already, ma. Because a fasting blood test means you didn't makan, and for many people, it's easy to pass because your body hasn't taken the sugar drink. But what's really interesting is, you know, um, we as human beings, we makan, we minum, we eat, and we need to find out how we respond to that. So definitely a OGTT will give you more info compared to just a fasting blood test law. And it will tell us, whether you have this impaired fasting glucose, that means even without eating and drinking, your sugar is high, or whether you have this IGT, after eating and drinking, your sugar is high, or whether you have both, right? Yeah, so definitely OGTT is more accurate. Not to say accurate, but gives you more info.
Okay. So I think that answers your question, Shirley. And the last question is for Dr. Alex from Nicholas. He asked, do you recommend continuous blood glucose monitoring for type 2 diabetes patients?
Yeah, sure, I do. Thanks a lot for that great question. CGM, continuous glucose monitoring is now really available in our country, easily available. You can even buy it off Lazada. You just need to type in the keywords Libre, Libre. That's the most common one. There is another
Yeah.
brand of CGM, the iPro, um, but it's less available. That's more mainly for professionals like me. Now, the downside to it is, of course, cost.
Mm.
Your Libre basically, I think it's about 300 plus for 2 weeks, right? So
Yeah,
it's a
my
pack
mom
that your
uses that.
oh, your mom uses Libre. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So yeah, you would know the cost of it, lah, Meiji.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
it's not cheap and it's only for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks you have to change out the thing, lah. You can use it intermittently, or you can use it during certain periods. You don't have to wear it like 365 days a year. Okay. Although if you did do that, then definitely you have lots and lots of data available, and you really, really, really understand how your body reacts to certain things, reacts to not sleeping enough, reacts to stress, reacts to certain makan. So yeah, definitely, just now early on, Shirley asked about OGTT. Well, if you do a Libre, number one, it's continuous. You can scan your sugar anytime. Number two, it's not artificial at all. It's how you live your life, ma. Okay. But yeah, I mean, not the only, one of the downsides is the cost law. It's not cheap. Number two, it's also you have to wear the thing, lah. With some
Mm.
people, takes a bit of getting used to. I've worn it before, and sometimes, when I was sleeping, I turn over to one side. I know that that plastic thing is there, lah, right? So yeah, if you want to go ahead, it will definitely help your diabetes, and definitely help you to understand how your body reacts to certain things. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Alex, for answering that question. And actually, to the audience, thank you guys for being so participative, so engaging throughout today's session, the final episode for Talking Life with Macy for the year, before we continue again next year. So, thank you once again for your questions, and more so for Prof. Nisak and Dr. Alex for being on the show and sharing more about pre-diabetes. I think all of us need to take action for our own lives. And to find out more, you can go to letsmakeachange.com, a campaign initiative by Merck. So before we end, any closing words from Dr. Nisak and Dr. Alex? Maybe Dr. Nisak can go first and then Dr. Alex.
All right, all right. Thank you, Maisie. So we are almost to the end, but we are so excited to share on it. Yeah. So of course, pre-diabetes to every one of us, the healthcare professional is like a window of opportunity. Yeah. Start small. Start understand the importance role of nutrition. Yeah, for the prevention not only pre-diabetes but other chronic disease. Talk a lot about healthy food and jadikan dia amalan lah, yeah, make it as a practice. And yeah, Malaysia boleh.
Thanks, Dr. Nisak and Dr. Alex. And now Dr. Alex.
Yeah, basically the same lah. Basically, if you haven't gotten checked, go and get checked. And yeah, if you do find out that you have, come and see a doctor. Go and see a doctor and a dietitian, and maybe even a psychologist, right, to stay motivated. Yeah, because I think
Mm,
that's one of the important things. This disease, sometimes it's all a big part of it. I feel is motivation and
yeah,
psychological
that's
To
true.
factors as
stay on the
well.
course.
Yeah,
Mm,
and staying
Yeah.
on the course. Um,
mm,
this does require effort. You can't just say continue on the same track. This does require effort, but you can do it. I have seen people reverse their pre-diabetes. I have seen people improve and delay. So yeah, you are not alone. Come and get help. And yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
mm,
Sorry, I have one last question actually. We talked
Oh,
so much about pre-diabetes and reversing it, and basically mainly on lifestyle change. Are there any other options for pre-diabetes
mm,
treatment besides lifestyle change?
yeah, so if you're Malaysian, go and migrate. No, just kidding. So what happens is that I forgot to mention as well, there are medications that we can use, but this is also on a foundation of lifestyle change. All right, so lifestyle change is the foundation. But um, if you need additional help, come and see somebody, right? Because
Mm.
we understand that you are human. We understand you may have a job that demands a lot of you. We understand that you have kids and family, etc. We understand that there may be things in your life, floods, for example, stress from floods. You didn't ask for it, but for the next 1 week, you are in a scenario where you're talking to insurance about all the damages to your house and where are your kids going to get food and stay, etc. So we understand that life happens lah. Okay,
Mm.
talking life is too easy, right? She will help you, but that's where medication sometimes we know can also be an option that will help you, right? Because life happens. Okay, um, all well and good if you're cruising along in life and everything's good, you are able to join the gym, you're able to study up and make the necessary dietary changes. But sometimes when you need help, definitely there are medications. Not all medications have got the evidence to help in prediabetes, right? There's only a few, very few in fact. Um, and so yeah, if you need one of them, come over and see your doctor. Metformin and acarbose, these are the two basically which have got the evidence. There are some other sort of things that some people use, but these are the two. And yeah, lor, come and see somebody like me, and we will help.
A gastroenterologist, and a dietitian. So, more importantly, besides lifestyle changes to reverse the onset of prediabetes, there's also medication that can help, but it's on the basis of lifestyle change. So, that's from Dr. Alex. I would like to thank the both of you once again for such an insightful session. I definitely needed to get checked as well. I think, as I mentioned, I have a family history of diabetes. And to all of you, to the viewers, I cannot thank all of you enough from the bottom of my heart for joining me every Sunday on Talking Life with Macy for the past almost 2 years. So I hope this show has been beneficial to all of you. And we'll continue next year on the 9th of January. We'll talk about something very important for females. So see you next year on 9th January 2022. Like what Dr. Alex mentioned, I would like to wish all of you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see all of you next year. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much, Dr. Nisak and Dr. Alex, once again. Bye,
Bye. Thank
everyone. Take
you.
Thank
care.
you,
See you.
Maisie. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye.